I'm going to see if I can take a pack of cut basil from the store and turn it into a lifetime supply.
I've no idea if this will work, but the theory makes sense to me.
I mean, it's pretty easy to propagate from stem cuttings off a basil plant, but the twist here is that I'll be using cut basil from the store. The plant is nowhere in sight. Who knows how long these stems have been sat in the store? Not a recipe for success, is it? See what I did there? I'll get my coat.
So will they fail to grow roots in time and just turn to rot?
I can't wait to find out. And today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. So here we have a classic pack of cut basil I've just purchased from the supermarket. I did a bit of nosing around and picked the one that looked the freshest. Well, the one that didn't have any blackening leaves anyway. A sure sign that the plant is on its way out already.
Now the beauty of this is that the store has done the hard work for us.
They've gone to the trouble of cutting some stems from a basil bush, wherever that may be, and shoving it in a pack. As you can see, everything's not looking too shabby, is it? And I think this will be the most important part that ensures our success. Choosing basil that is looking halfway decent with no black stems or leaves. Prepping the basil.
If you've never propped basil before, then I highly recommend it.
It's dead simple and they love nothing more than to please you with some glorious roots in just a couple of weeks. So I'm going to take each stem piece and make a nice fresh snip off the bottom. You want a nice long piece of stem with a few leaves at the top, but not too many. The long stem piece is for root making magic and the leaves are there so the thing can stay alive through photosynthesis. So I'll remove the middle and lower leaves until I'm left with a kind of umbrella like this. You're looking for a maximum of 2 sets of leaves at the top. Anything more than this and it'll just slow down the rooting magic. Lots of folks swear by dipping their cuttings into rooting powder, but I don't think I'll bother.
Call me a rebel rouser if you like, but I just find that plants root perfectly fine by themselves, especially basil.
I'm going to turn these other stems into umbrellas, and while I'm doing that, let me introduce you to my fancy Sheffield Made Plants website. I set this bad boy up using Squarespace, and I thank the Lord I did because it was all so easy. I had no idea where to even begin, but Squarespace makes it so easy with easy to use templates with AI and SEO tools to get discovered fast and show up more often to more people.
So if you're thinking of starting your own website and not sure where to begin, why not head over to squarespace.com for a free trial to check it all out for yourself and really see how easy it is to get started.
When you're ready to launch, follow my link in the description to bag yourself a 10% discount off your first purchase for a website or a domain. Happy creating! Now, on close inspection, you can also see some tiny leaves at the top too. These are great and where the new stems of our plant will hopefully grow. Fingers crossed. So I'll repeat the process for the rest of the pack and I'm left with a bunch of stems ready to rock and roll. Whoa, where do you think you're going with that lot? Not the bin, I hope. That lot is just begging to be turned into pesto alla genovese, my plant friend. So get the pine nuts, pecorino and olive oil and get to it. Gee, some people, eh? Right, where do we put these bad boys then? I like to keep it as simple as possible, so I'm going to lob mine in a glass of water. Doesn't have to be fancy, good old regular tap water will do the job.
Definitely no fertilizer. They don't have the roots to use the stuff, so it's pointless.
And I'm making sure the water is pretty high up so that most of the stem is submerged in water. This will only increase the success rate of my little babies taking hold. But be careful about the leaves though, we don't want them sat in water. They'll go black, rot, and that'll massively reduce the lifespan of the cuttings, so I'm being careful about them being submerged. Right, where's the best place for them? Somewhere nice and bright, and a windowsill is a good shout, but I reckon things propagate much better under grow lights, so I'm sticking mine under my Sansi grow lights. Hit them with enough light and they'll grow roots before they rot. That's the theory anyway.
Fingers crossed they make it, because I love nothing more than having basil all throughout the summer, and what's better than basically growing it for free from one pack from the store.
Alright, it's not free, but you get the gist. Okay, everything is in place. It's just a case of crossing my fingers, knees and toes and hoping for the best now. Say a prayer for me in the comments and let's say buongiorno to future Mr. Sheffield for an update. Grazie mille, Mr. Sheffield from the past. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now 3 weeks later and things are slower than expected, and it looks like there is some mischief and shenanigans going on in the glass, and not the good type. Some of the stems are looking pretty dark, almost like they're itching to die on me. Also, some of the leaves are feeling a little soft and limp. I am persevering though because I can see the beginnings of some root action. My past success rate with basil cuttings is 100%, honest it is, but the tricky thing here is that I have no idea how long it has been since they were cut from the plant.
You know how long growers hold on to these things in their secret special chambers? Could have been weeks, and that's what we're fighting against. Well, I am anyway.
So that black stuff on the stems is making this experiment touch and go at this point.
What do you think? Will they make it? Let me know in the comments if you fancy.
While you're doing that, let's go back to the future again and see what Mr. Sheffield version 3.0 has to say. Good news, I hope. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we have on our hands is a mixed bag. Let's pull these bad boys out of the glass and have a good gander. So I reckon we've got 4 cuttings with healthy roots that are trying to make a proper fist of it. I'll show you what to do with these guys in a second to get super healthy basil for months. But it looks like we have some slouches of the group. 4 cuttings that are not looking too great, all being told. This one in particular is feeling pretty mushy between my fingers, so definitely won't last long. The other 3 look like they had the beginnings of some roots, but I don't like the colour honestly. I could keep them in the glass a bit longer and see if the miracle of Sheffield happens, but to be honest, I'm happy with my lot. A 50% success rate is not too shabby after all. Right, there's only one thing left to do now, and that is to pot on these bad boys.
There are a few things we'll need to get right so we don't throw away all our hard work.
Now, some of these healthy cuttings do have suspiciously dark stems at the bottom, so I'm going to trim these back a bit. Don't be scared to do this with yours, my plant friend. The cutting has successfully made roots, so a little trim here or there won't harm them. You can even trim back any roots that are going brown too. They have potential to rot in the soil, which ain't good. Now that we're all pruned and primed, let's grab a pot for each of our cuttings. I'm not going to stick them all in one big pot, and that's for a couple of reasons.
First, I need a pretty big pot to fit them in, and this risks the cuttings drowning in wet soil.
You generally want your pot to be in proportion to the plant.
Second, it's not really a good idea to have multiple basil plants in the same pot fighting for space and nutrients.
Let them spread their wings in their own little pot and they'll be happy as Larry. I've got 4 little pots with drainage holes, and most plants like a free draining potting soil, and basil is no different, so I'm using Botanica's universal potting mix for the job. 10% discount linked in the description, by the way. You can of course just keep your plants in water and they will grow fine. Just add some hydroponic feed to the water and you're good to go. I do like soil though, so I don't have to look at murky water all the time. Potting them on then. The best way to do this is to grow a third arm, hold the cutting near enough to the middle of the pot and fill soil around it. I'm filling the soil up to the first root on the cutting. And here comes the crucial part. We absolutely need to water our new plant in. Not only does this wet the soil and give the cutting a good drink, it also settles the soil and removes any air gaps in the pot. We want soil making good contact with all the plant's private parts. So I'm watering my suckers thoroughly until water is flowing nicely out of the drainage holes. After that, I'm putting them somewhere nice and bright. Basil needs as much bright light as possible. Now you might be thinking that these plants look like a real dog's dinner, and honestly you'd be right, they do. But they are just starting out on their plant journey. Plenty of new growth will come through in no time, so it's a game of patience.
Once new growth does start to come out, it's a good idea to prune your basil regularly, and this is for 2 reasons.
Cutting back the stems makes the plant branch out, so you end up with super bushy basil with tons of pesto potential making leaves. Check out this wee baba I've been nursing for a few weeks. This featured in the video I'll link in the top right corner about what to do with a live basil plant from the supermarket. You can see where I made the cut on the stem and where the new branches have grown. And it's now time I prune back these branches to bush it out even further. The other reason you want to do this is to prevent the plant bolting.
What the bejesus is bolting, I hear you cry?
Bolting just means going to flower. Once a basil goes to flower, the leaves aren't as tasty anymore. They kind of go all bitter. So the first sign of any stem poking out the top looking like the start of a bud should be severed.
Eventually though, you won't really be able to stop it going to flower, but that's an issue for further down the road.
So all in all, not a bad little project. You can most definitely turn the cut basil from the supermarket into some fully fledged plants. Who knew? You probably.
For a change in flavour, the video on the screen here shows you exactly what you need to do to stop you killing your store-bought coriander so they last more than a few days. Click on the link to check it out. See you next time.